Okay, so welcome to our podcast. This is a little bit different today because this podcast is a spin-off of our radio show. This is hydrogen water. What do you think of hydrogen water? But what's your take on hydrogen water?
I like it. I don't think it's like the next greatest thing, but
Is it a scam?
I'm okay with it. I mean, there's just not a lot of evidence that it really works. But again, like ideally you would say, well, you know, I feel like this, and now I did this, and now I feel like this.
But you're drinking that. What do you know? What do you know about Pellegrino?
So Pellegrino is obviously it's an Italian sparkling water, and it comes from Italy. And this particular water is the highest source of sulfur of any other water at least that I know of. So sulfur is a detoxifier. Sulfur is just, if you remember back to high school, the periodic table, right? You got oxygen and hydrogen and, you know, et cetera. You have all that, you know, all those things. And sulfur helps to detoxify. It makes certain things like glutathione. If you've ever had a glutathione IV, our body makes its own glutathione, and it does so with sulfur. Sulfur makes amino acids, proteins, helps us build muscle. And then the other thing is that sulfur is heavily found on the inside of a blood vessel. So it makes the blood vessels super slick, like Teflon. So given the fact that we want to get sulfur into our diet, where else do we get sulfur from? Eggs, right? The smell of eggs, that's the sulfur smell. The onions, garlic, they're very high in sulfur. One of my favorite supplements is a unique form of seaweed, and when I heard that it was so good for blood vessel health because it's billed for that, and a lot of cardiologists use it, then that particular product, I knew as soon as I heard about it, it was going to be high in sulfur, and that's exactly what it is.
And that's what you want.
And you want that. Or, you know, if you want, you know, someone takes an Epsom salt bath.
Right.
That's magnesium sulfate after you're in the gym, or if, you know, aches and pains, magnesium salt baths, and that's what it is. It's magnesium sulfate.
How many of those will you drink in a day?
No, I mean, I don't drink them necessarily for medicinal value, but, I mean, if I drink... I mean, let's just say if I have one a day, you know, on average. And there's other, you know, Icelandic is another really good sparkling mineral water. It comes from Iceland, so you would assume it's pretty clean. Perrier, you know, Perrier, I remember back in the day, Perrier had some like contamination issues. I want to say this goes back to like 20, 30 years ago, so I've never really matriculated towards that, but there's a lot of good stuff.
So when it comes to this hydrogen water, so here, let me give you the story on these cans, on this hydrogen water. So I'm into the biohacking space, if that's what they call it. I want to try to live and be as healthy as I can. And I was following Gary Brecka, right?
I've heard of him.
Okay, and he's this guy, and he has this hydrogen water thing. You buy this thing for $400. You hit a button, it makes the bubbles. It takes about 10 minutes. So I would do it in the morning, hit the button, go do a quick light stretch, come back, drink it. And then, of course, within 3 weeks, the thing broke, right? I can't get anybody to fix it.
Wow.
And then... now I see him, he doesn't talk about those anymore, but him and his son started these hydrogen tablets. So the same thing, you take these tablets, put them in the water, you got to wait 10, 15 minutes for them to dissolve. And I'm like, he says there's all this science on hydrogen water, how good it is for you. And I just found it to be a pain in the ass. Then this woman reaches out to me. You can't buy this. This is from Australia. You cannot buy this in the United States. And it's canned hydrogen water. And she gives me the spiel about how good it is for you. And I'm like, I just pop it open and drink. I don't have to wait 10 minutes. So she sent me a couple cases. So we drink it all the time. I like it. I've talked to a couple doctors that like it. And I was just curious to what you think about it.
All right. Well, if I'm going to be critical, which is what I'm here to do.
Yeah, please do.
Not only here for that, but to be critical. That's why God has me here on earth, is to be critical of stuff like that. But one thing I don't like about cans is that cans are lined with plastic.
I didn't know that.
So cans, this isn't the old tin can or aluminum can days. They're all lined with plastic. And the plastic is there to maybe prevent metals from leaching into the water, from the, you know, can, you know, to rust, and they're all lined with a coating of plastic. And then the plastic, of course, interferes with hormones, etc. And high levels of plastic are linked with cardiovascular disease. So I tend to avoid cans whenever possible. I'm not here to insult Gary Brecka because I guess we can all say, hey, you know, well, we all got bills to pay, right?
Right.
We all have bills to pay.
I got nothing. I'm a fan of the guy.
And Gary has his bills to pay, but I think one concern is that, the industry is full of people who jump from one to another who's paying them. And I'm not saying that I'm holier than thou, but I really try and be. And that if I'm going to get behind a company, number one, I want to know the product is going to work, of course, and it doesn't break down after a few weeks. And that it's a company I'm going to be with for a long time. You know, you're one of the older timers in the industry, of course, and you know how advertisers work, and you know, you support an advertiser when they pay you to do so. But I think we need to be careful, really, about the products that we're endorsing.
Well, I heard Huberman, he won't use a product. He'll use a product for 2 years before he endorses it.
I mean, that's obviously a pretty good, policy to do
Right.
so. And I think really it's also just that the thing that I always try and push is that there's a foundation, and we always got to hit that foundation. And all these different biohacks that you talk about, the biohacks are kind of at the end of the game. We really need to say, well, how are we sleeping? How are we getting outdoors in sunshine exposure? Of course, the foods that we're eating and how quality they are. We want to make sure that we're moving. We want to make sure that our mindset is good. We find our happy. So that's always like those basics. You can't biohack your way out of not sleeping or not getting sunshine or a lousy diet, as you know. So.
Well, you know, it's funny. I was showing my sister, I was trying to get her to take creatine. Do you believe in creatine?
That's another one that I know. You know, it's. Do you want me just to say yes? And
No, but it's like every time I throw something your way, everything. So, like, since I saw you last week, it's like you like rocked my world with all this information. That's why I should be on the podcast. But it's like everything that I've learned or got from social media, you debunk right away, which is great. But go ahead. What can you say about creatine?
Well, it's just it's funny when you insult creatine. Like, we can talk about water. Nobody's like, oh, hydrogen water. Yeah, I guess, whatever. People seem to hold creatine so close to themselves. They really identify with creatine. So if you insult it or you go against it or you kind of point out, it is a synthetic lab-made organic acid, amino acid-like compound. Do we really need that? Do we really need this synthetic?
You get it from the beef supplements.
What if we get it from the bison supplements?
Okay.
From the bison supplements. What if we get it from the food that we eat? Now, somebody will say, yeah, but you're not going to be able to get 10 grams of creatine from a bison organ supplement. And I would say, I don't care. I'm not trying to get 10 grams of creatine. I'm trying to eat like our ancestors did. And I feel that that's going to be the best answer for us. I'm really trying to get away from the lab-made stuff as much as possible.
That's fair. So let me do a quick setup. So last week I was doing TPE, right? Is that what it's called, TPE? Which is
tissue plasma exchange.
Where I was taking the blood out of my body, taking the red blood cells out, right, and putting albumin, whatever, back in.
Yeah, it's like a dialysis.
It's like cleans my blood, right?
Yes,
it cleans the blood.
Definitely.
And you believe in that?
I do.
Okay, so it was the second time doing it, and before I met you, my sister has sent me Instagram videos of yours because she knows I have some like heart issues. And she goes, listen to this guy. And then, and it was like, you're outside and I think you were living in a trailer or something. And she knows your whole story. And then I'm doing the TPE and you come walking in and I'm in your building.
Yeah.
Right. So you sat down, we talked for a while. And I was like, I would say I was almost starstruck because I knew you from social media.
Well, that's how I felt about you.
Oh, right. You've heard of the show. You've heard of us.
Of course I have. Who hasn't heard of you?
Well, so anyway,
I live in a trailer, not under a rock, as they would say. And it's actually not a trailer; it's a tent. But we'll talk about it.
You live in a tent.
We can talk about it.
But then you pulled up in a big van.
Yeah.
Do you live in the van too?
It seems like it. If you looked inside, you're not allowed to film inside the van. That's totally off limits. My wife will kill me if she.
Well, I saw you get out of the van and change clothes.
Totally. Yeah.
So, I mean, how come you live in a tent? How come you live out of a van? And you're a very, very successful cardiac surgeon? What's the title?
Yeah, so, I mean, by training, I'm a cardiologist. So I went through 4 years of internal medicine, 4 years of medical school, 3 years of internal medicine, 3 years of cardiology.
Okay.
I was with the biggest group in the state of Arizona as a hospital-based cardiologist for up until 2012. And from there, I would leave and I'd start my own company, Natural Heart Doctor, and you were over at our offices, and you had the procedure done, the tissue plasma exchange, and that's like a dialysis. Dialysis has been around for 60, 70 years. And the idea there is that it's another biohack, right? We have all these different biohacks, but it comes at the end of how we eat, live, and think. And then maybe we can do advanced testing in the world to say, okay, well, these are your markers now. And then let's check them in the future. And that could be, now we're going to look at evidence-based supplements and another biohack. And that could be sauna, red light, and that could be tissue plasma exchange. The idea of the blood dialysis is cool because it helps to remove unnecessary proteins that we don't want, including one that was very popular a few years ago, a certain protein that was circulating around, injected. And then there was also the idea of there's plastics. And so we talked about plastic in cans, and plastic is ubiquitous in our society. So how do we scrub that plastic out? That's a big one, because as you and I spoke, I talked about people with plastic in their arteries as measured, they're at triple the risk of heart attack, stroke, and dying, which makes plastic a bigger risk factor than smoking, drinking, diabetes, high blood pressure, like combined times 2 or 3. It's a massive risk factor. So one of the tenets of live well is not living in a home that has water damage, mold, and or bacteria. So we were living in a home in 2018 that we found out had mold. We moved from that home. We actually moved from Arizona to Colorado. And then ultimately the house we were living there, we found out had bacteria. So we left that home and we said, you know what? Until we build our home out of concrete, steel, and glass, we're going to be living in tents. So I do consider myself the world's best preventive cardiologist. Not the guy you would go to see if you're in the midst of a heart attack. For that, you go to any local hospital and they'll take care of you. But if you want to prevent, treat, and reverse cardiovascular disease, I consider myself the world's greatest. And a lot of it is because nobody else really goes after root cause. I'm kind of alone in this world. And the world's greatest is living in a tent up in North Cave Creek location.
Do you have a tent?
Undisclosed.
Like, because you also have kids. So is your tent one big tent and you're all in sleeping bags? Or are you in a tent? They have a tent?
Yeah, so it's my wife and I, and then we've got 18, 13-year-old boys, and then 7 and 4-year-old girls. So the boys have their own tent. My wife and I and the little girls, we stay in our tent. We stay in our own tent. And then we have a traveling companion who kind of helps us manage everything. And she's in her own tent.
And how do you handle showers, brushing teeth, and all that?
So we have an outdoor shower. So we hook up to a water system, to a water tank. And then we have a propane heater shower, so we do that.
Generator?
So we have a generator, and you're talking to a Jewish kid from the north suburbs of Chicago. Like, I'm not MacGyver. The fact that I've made this happen is a miracle, but it's...
And your wife the whole time is all the way in.
It was all her, man. Basically, when we found out we had mold in 2018, she's like, you know what? I'm leaving the house. I found out we have mold. That's been causing me health issues, causing the kids some health issues. I'm leaving. I'm going to go down to my sister's till we figure this out, and you're welcome to join us. And I said, well, of course I want to join you. I love you. I'm coming with. And that was kind of the start of our journey. But it's simple. It really is easy to do because the sleeping is simple. Right, we're inside in a tent, and you can sleep outside. You can sleep outside in the dirt or in the grass.
Sleeping bag.
We're on some organic latex rubber mats. So like a topper, it's like a mattress topper, and those go directly on the ground. And my 2 sons, they have cots, and they will sleep on those. And it depends what the elements are like outside. And if you know it's going to rain, you pay a lot of attention to what the weather is. Even here in Arizona, we had a lot of rain yesterday, really, or the day before. So that was a factor. And Everything runs off of a generator, or if you can plug into someone's electrical somewhere, you can do that. And the refrigerator, freezer, coolers, good old-fashioned camping stove. It's odd, but it's doable, and especially if you're sick, if you're not feeling well, and it's because of the home you live in, then the decision becomes pretty simple.
But if you're going to have a lazy day, are you in a hammock, or are you like, what is a lazy day for you? Like me, it's on the couch watching TV.
Yeah, I haven't done that in a long time.
Wow.
I haven't done that in a long time. So we do have chairs, and I mean, honestly, you could. I mean, we have used a TV. I mean, you remember let's say 20 years ago, if you wanted a flat screen Philips plasma TV, they were small and they were 10 grand.
Mm-hmm.
Like circa 2002.
Right.
Well, now you can go into whatever your favorite big box store is. You can have it delivered on Amazon. And now you're looking at this 42-inch TV that you got for under $100. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is a disposable product.
Right.
So what do? We plug the TV into, the last time we used it, it was actually, we had a power source, so we didn't need the generator. But it's like an outdoor movie theater.
Right.
Outdoor movie, and you have your chairs. As comfortable as you want it to be, you can do it.
It sounds like you're giving your kids a great foundation to be like, remember when we used to live in tents when they're grown up? Like, they love it. They get it.
Yeah.
Homeschooled or go to school?
They're unschooled. They're unschooled. We kind of teach them as we go along. First of all, that we're teaching them what we feel are the most important things, which are really spirituality, God, food, nutrition, all these lifestyle things that they're learning from us. We're not teaching them about the War of 1812, and we're not, we're teaching them how to be critical thinkers, how to question everything, question any form of authority with respect.
So it's not like get up at 8 a.m. and we have class. They just go on with life. You'd be like, hey, let me tell you something. You just kind of educate them as we go.
That's correct.
Wow.
That's correct.
Is there pushback on that? Any kind of pushback?
This is interesting. Certain states would say that there would be, pushback theoretically. We've never had any kind of pushback. A lot of the pushback would be when we share our opinions on social media. Mm-hmm. And then social media critics,
How about friends? Do they have friends?
They certainly have friends, and they're extremely outgoing, gregarious kids. A lot of them are, we meet them in youth groups. And I think since COVID, there are millions and millions of people have just opted out of the system.
Yeah, I think
for a whole variety of reasons. Right. And then, of course, when you go on social media, you find those people. You find them in the local, church groups. And if I was going to say, pushback, it would really be from family members, in particular, maybe Heather's mom and my mom, as far as what they think. But
where's your mom right now?
My mom lives up in Las Vegas. My father passed of a Parkinson's-like illness back in 2007, which was one of the main drivers for me adopting this kind of lifestyle, because when I met the woman who would have become my wife, we took my father just before that to the Mayo Clinic, and the Mayo Clinic said, we have no idea why your father's sick and dying of this Parkinson's-like illness. And then I meet this 29-year-old chiropractor who tells me exactly why my father is dying of this illness. And it clicked for me. And it really changed everything. Of course, I would leave, the big cardiology group, and I would, start my own practice and all those kind of things. And we would get married and 4 kids later. But, once again, one thing that's interesting is that, if you will, the way that we did it, the way that other people do it, they hold on to that belief, right? So my mom would say, I didn't breastfeed you. I gave birth to you in a hospital. It wasn't a home birth. You were fully injected with everything, and I put you in a crib and I let you cry it out in your own room. Like everything that we now stand against. And she says, when you were crying, I would come into the room and throw chocolate chip cookies into your crib so you'd shut up. And I say, Ma, you were a wonderful mother. You were. You did the best that you knew of. Your sister did it the same way, you did it that way. But if someone asks you now, Marlene, let go of the past. It's okay to admit that you did something wrong for whatever reasons, but it's all about how do we move forward? How do we move forward doing the right thing? You and I have both made mistakes in our lives, and okay, we can own up to those mistakes, and we can say, I made those mistakes, but I'm gonna do better now. So to Heather's mom, to my mom, to all the other moms out there who they hold on to, like, I did it this way and that was the right way, including schooling. Maybe you can admit and say, is it a big deal if the kids go to school or not? Like, what are they missing? They're not missing on the social activity, that's for sure. And I would say they're missing on a lot of the bad things in school.
What about
bad influences.
Organized sports, youth sports?
Yeah, so they could get into that. So pretty much every school has an opportunity for a homeschool child to get into soccer or basketball.
That's true. There's all kinds of
So they
programs.
do have that. But our kids, they mostly do individual sports now. They both played soccer, but they're mountain bikers.
But if your
they're
mom
skiers.
was coming to visit, would she have a tent? Her own tent?
She hasn't come to visit yet. No, she wouldn't. She would never do that.
Is she upset with you?
My mom's 81 years old, so I don't think she would necessarily be in the tent life. I don't think she's upset.
Is she close with your kids?
So, in particular, she's closer with the two older boys. She's had more interaction with them. My wife's mother is closer with the two little girls, but again, it's really hard to wrap your head around living in a tent.
No, it is.
But you have to be sick enough. That's pretty much what the driver is. So my mom would say, well, I'm not sick. Yeah, I got some high blood pressure and I take a whole bunch of, your supplements and stuff. But I would never consider living in a tent. You got to be sick enough. And there's plenty of people in this mold bacteria community that have been sick enough that have done. We've met a lot of people like this.
I think a lot of people are sick like that, but they don't know it.
They don't know.
You get used to it. Every once in a while, I'll get an IV drip, right? And in the IV drip, I'll get Toradol, right? Toradol is like a pain reliever or something like that. And the next day and a half, I feel amazing. And I realize I'm just used to living in right now I feel fine. But I'm sure if I had Toradol tomorrow, I'd be like, wait a minute. My body, you just get used to living in pain, right?
It is the norm. It's the norm where people think that dizziness and headaches are normal,
right.
And therefore the answer to that is ibuprofen or acetaminophen.
Right, that's what I mean. You don't have a lack of ibuprofen in your body.
You don't have a lack
right.
of ibuprofen. Right. No. We are built to be extremely vibrant, to have tons of energy into our 80s, 90s, and beyond. Mm-hmm. The people are just running around. It's normal to have gut problems. It's normal to have skin problems, eczema. And then, of course, it's normal to take pharmaceuticals to cover it up, like you said. And it is root cause when you say, well, you may be living in a home that has water damage. You likely are. And mold goes back to the Hebrew Bible. Mold releases toxins. What are these toxins? Penicillin is a mold mycotoxin, and there's many other examples, including the first cholesterol drug. The statin drug category was a mold mycotoxin. But invariably, we don't learn this stuff in medical school. We learn how to write prescriptions for pharmaceuticals and IV Toradol. We learn how to do tests. We learn how to send people for surgeries. I went through 10 years of medical training. We never talked about nutrition. We never talked about sunshine. We never talked about sleep. We talked about the fact that we didn't get sleep as cardiologists. We never talked about chemicals. Today I was in a coffee shop, an organic coffee shop, and there was a guy there, and he's got his cell phone in his front, left pocket. And so I said, I got to go up to him. I got to say something. I said, excuse me. You have your phone in your left shirt pocket. Your phone is all electromagnetic, and you and I talked about this before, so you know what I'm going to say here. He's got his cell phone here on top of his heart. What does that mean? What does that do? Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, I do have atrial fibrillation. I do have one of the most common heart rhythm problems. And I said, listen, it's not doing you any favors.
What, did you tell me you were a doctor?
There. And I said, I'm a cardiologist. And I said, I'm not looking for business, whatever. But I got to just tell you out of the goodness of my heart that that's what it is. Now, I don't go up to everybody who's wearing an Apple Watch and stuff like that. But, if they're not going to hear it from people like us, if they're not going to hear it from someone like you interviewing me to get this out there to the world, we're just perpetuating the sickness. And I think that it's just so unfortunate because cardiovascular disease, #1 killer in the world.
I have it.
#1 killer in the world. Yeah. After all these years, since 1980, we've gained 3 years of life expectancy. despite trillions in pharmaceuticals and surgical procedures and in cardiac world stents and the bypasses and the pacemakers and the ablations. We have an extra 3 years. You know, it's time to wake up and say, let's give our God-given bodies the right stuff and avoid the wrong stuff. That's the strategy.
So how do you reverse cardiac disease?
So, you know, you just start with the foundation stuff, and you can definitely. But I also like to say this, is that it's not even so much that if you have coronary artery disease, for example, you have a CT scan that says you've got coronary disease. You can live with those pipes the way they are for the next 100,000 years. What we want to make sure is we're not going to let the situation get any worse, or one of the plaques that are there break loose, or in this case, erode. And if it erodes and breaks loose, then it shuts down the pipe and you have a massive heart attack. Right. And, you know, so the story goes. But it's really a matter of continuing with, you know, root cause. Eat this stuff, avoid this stuff. Live this kind of lifestyle. Think the happy thoughts, because whenever I take a history on someone who's had a heart attack or a stroke, what happened beforehand? Tell me about it. Didn't the cardiologist ask you about your stress levels? Like, why now? If you're 55 years old and you have a heart attack, why now? Why did it just happen to you? What was going on in your life stress-wise? And I want to identify that because I want you to work on that going forward so it doesn't happen to you again. And we never talk about stress as cardiologists. We never talk, when someone comes up with a cancer diagnosis, what was going on in your life before that? And in particular, there's two medical diagnoses that are much more common in women. One is called SCAD, spontaneous coronary artery dissection, a woman who's under stress. She has a massive heart attack. It's not from a blockage, but it's from where the artery just tears open. The other is called Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, where a woman is under stress. She gets in a fight with her boss, argument with her spouse, and she has a massive heart attack. We go in there with catheters. Everything's clean. No coronary artery disease. It was a massive spasm that they had. Women need to know about this. People need to know. To answer your question, I do think that when you're eating well, living well, thinking well, what we call the 100-year heart method.
Eating well, living well, thinking well.
That whole combination, and they're all equally as important. Then you do the most advanced testing in the world. Like, I'm talking about state-of-the-art 21st century, 25, 26 testing as we come into 26. The testing there is just so in-depth, so thorough on so many different levels. And then we get into the evidence-based supplements and then biohacking strategies like whether you're having exosomes or you're having IV ozone.
I'm doing everything I can because my calcium score is pretty high. So I'm trying to do everything I can to either pause it, reverse it. I don't know. I'm trying to do. I believe I think well, live well, eat well. Is that what it would? Think well? What is it?
Yeah, well, I mean, everyone loves to debate the food story. So we start off with the eat well, so eat the right foods, avoid the wrong foods. And I think that the most important thing for you, once again, is it's not to reverse it. And I would implore you, how are we going to know if you're reversing it? I would advise you never to have another CT scan because of the radiation exposure. And it's just not a good thing to follow, because somebody would say, okay, Johnjay, here's what you're going to do. You had a scan at time 0, and let's check it again in 5 years. You're going to say, well, I have to wait 5 years to see if it's working. And if my score was a 200 and now it's a 300, does that mean what I'm doing is working? Is it not working? How do I know? What if my score is at 200 again? What if it is a little, so what I'm saying?
How bad is that radiation though?
It's bad. It's bad. You and I talked about this. I kind of alluded to, us being kind of, kids in the 1970s and how radiation turns Bill Bixby into, who's Bruce Banner, turns him into Lou Ferrigno, the Incredible Hulk. Right. So radiation, I don't think is a good thing. I was around plenty of radiation as a cardiologist, of course, doing angiograms and pacemakers. I don't like radiation in any way, shape, or form. So what do we do? I mean, we just, how do we know you're on track? So that's where the markers of inflammation come in. Inflammation, oxidative stress. We can measure things like Lp(a). We can measure omega-3 fatty acids. We can measure levels of glutathione. We talked, briefly about Glutathione is the body's main antioxidant made in the liver. We can measure your levels. CoQ10, everyone talks about CoQ10. What are your levels? So we can measure intracellular vitamins, minerals. We can measure different proteins and all these different fatty acids. We can measure the toxins. We have so much that we can measure that you can actually say, I'm going to do this new thing. I'm going to go vegan for a month, which obviously I don't advise. But I'm going to go vegan for a month and then check my numbers and see how they look. You could say, I'm going to go carnivore for a month, which I don't advise, and then check your numbers in a month. You could say, I'm going to go to sleep earlier, or I'm going to dedicate the next month to being outside. I'm going to live in a tent for the next month, and I'm going to check my numbers. I'm going to drink hydrogen water for the next month and see what it does to my numbers. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? When you do a CT scan, if there are going to be changes, they take a very long time. And you want to know, hey, am I on the right track? And I want to know right now. And that's one. Blood pressure would be another metric to know right now. Mm-hmm. How many times you wake up at night to urinate would be a metric of, hey, I normally wake up 3 to 4 times a night. And then I did this therapy. And now I'm waking up once, maybe some nights, none. Mm-hmm. So we can use those kind of metrics.
Do you currently have patients that you work with, or are you out of it? You just
I do. I mean, I do. I've been virtual since 2012 in a lot of ways, because people would come out to see me in Arizona in my old office, and then they would go back to wherever they're from, and then we would follow up virtually. Back in the day with Skype. Now I do a lot of Zoom consultations, but I also have a great team around me. I've got other cardiologists who work with me, team of health coaches who work with me. You know, Dr. Smeagol, who of course is just a phenomenal physician. And as good as he is as a physician, I believe he's a better person. I've known him for 20 years, and he's the kind of guy who you would call in the middle of the night and say, hey, I'm having this particular symptom, and he would work with you through it. Or, he'd come over to your house and do an IV, not because of your media personality and because he wants to cull, your favorites, because he's a good guy. So,
yeah, I got that vibe from him.
Totally.
But when you said you met your wife and she said, here's why your dad has the disease he has, what was the answer?
So it was really just a matter of believe it or not, she tells me, starts talking about, these are the foods your father ate. These are the things your dad did. My father was a cardiologist just like me in Chicago. So if we say
he was around radiation,
but he was also in a hospital, which is full of all kind of poisons and chemicals and toxins. He was he was a Chicago cardiologist. So how much, if we say sunshine is important, how much sunshine does a Chicago cardiologist get?
0.
Exactly. If you say, what kind of food does one eat in Chicago, right? The home of deep dish pizza, Italian beef sandwiches, all the foods that when I first moved out here from Chicago, and people are like, oh, what do you miss about Chicago? I would say the food. Well, I don't eat that food anymore. But all the foods, all the lifestyle, all the toxins, mental issues as well that my father would have had, maybe some things that would have caused him pain, maybe some childhood traumas that he would have had. Again, things that you would just never unpack.
So it's important to
and he was also a drinker too.
But it's important to get rid of the childhood trauma to move forward.
It definitely is.
With a therapist or something.
It definitely is.
Or ayahuasca or all that stuff.
And that's certainly not my bag. And whatever you would do to, first of all, I think identify that it is a health problem. Like it's people who have childhood trauma have a much higher risk of having a heart attack and a stroke at a younger age than someone who doesn't have that. So how do we process that? And again, that's not my specialty, so I would refer people out for that. And if there are certain things that are better than others, and I would definitely say that however we can deal with that naturally, whether it's ayahuasca, ibogaine, or something, along those lines, to deal with it in a short-term way, which is ideal, and not a long-term pharmaceutical approach. You go to see a psychiatrist, and all they're going to do is throw some pills at you. So,
but you said ayahuasca is not your thing.
No. I mean, candidly, I've never done it personally, and I'm all for it if it helps someone move forward with trauma.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. A lot of people do.
Undoubtedly.
They move on from trauma.
Yeah.
The other thing, ibogaine, I just heard that a couple weeks ago. First time I've heard it. That's another thing helping war veterans with PTSD.
Yeah, most certainly.
On. So do you drink?
Not anymore.
No. When did you quit drinking?
Okay, quit drinking. So let me say, if I ever drink once every 3 months, but I think I'm on my way out. I think I'm done with it. Not because I had any problem with alcohol, and not because my father had any problem with alcohol. The sob story of my father's alcohol is that he's dead. Mm-hmm. That's the sob story. My father, when he drank, he was the life of the party, you know, the joke teller, the storyteller. On Friday afternoons, he would take all the cardiology trainees and the internal medicine residents and the students and the nurses and go to happy hour, and he'd pay for everybody's chicken wings and and pizzas and whatever else people, and of course their alcohol. So there's no sob story, but the particular part of the brain called the substantia nigra, where Parkinson's disorders reside, that is affected by alcohol, and that also was, again, I think part of his downfall. He also took a cholesterol medication, a statin drug, which I can put together the biochemical string of how a statin drug can lead to similar. So I choose not to drink. I want to be present all the time. If I drink, right, you don't sleep well, so it kind of violates that law. It's a liver toxin, and especially you're doing so many things. The brain is so critical, and the liver is so critical, and of course, alcohol is toxic to the heart. So if you do drink alcohol, I'll say one final word about that. It's to make sure it's organic. Make sure you get the chemicals out of the alcohol. So if vodka is your thing, drink organic vodka. If tequila is your thing, drink organic tequila. Organic.
Well, let me ask you this. So I've got the cardiac stuff in me. I took my kids to Amsterdam over the summer because my father's from the Netherlands, and he drank, and he died of a heart attack. And my boys, they were like, let's all have a beer together. And I just couldn't do it. I didn't want to. I hadn't had a sip of alcohol in over 5 years, and that 5 years ago it was only one time. Before that it was 10 years, right? So I was just like, I had this regret that I didn't have a Heineken with my boys in Amsterdam.
I think that the lesson that they received from it.
I think I just had a gnat fly in my mouth. But I'm gonna have a heart attack right here with the diver. Clip. Yeah.
If he has a heart attack, call 911, will you?
Yeah, you just... Yeah. No, but anyway.
Well, thank God a cardiologist is here.
No,
Hello, 911?
You were saying the lesson that I taught them was probably
the lesson you taught them on not having alcohol is so much better than... Remember that time that, with Dad, we had a Heineken in Amsterdam? I definitely get that, but the lesson also to the children... I mean, we're here to be an example.
Yeah, they've never seen me drink before.
And a role model. Yeah, so why? And then, of course, that 30 minutes after that Heineken, you're like, wow, that was really good. I mean, maybe I'll have another one. I don't know. But then afterwards, you come down from that, and you're like, oh, Dad is lame. Dad just wants to go back to the hotel and take a nap. Yeah. Like Dad doesn't want to go running around. Yeah. We're not 18, so that's what happens there. So I applaud you. I think it's very important for us as we become the patriarchs, as we become the matriarchs, as our wives will become the matriarchs of the family, that kind of example, that's good. Multi-generational.
Yeah.
That example sets the example in your child, which sets the example for his children and his children's children. That's the stuff that we say, the way that we behave in front of our children, this impacts generations for the next hundreds of years. That's pretty powerful.
Wow, it made me feel good about that.
Thanks, dude. You're right.
Yeah, thanks.
You should.
Jeez,
although a Heineken would taste good. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. And you don't want to be the guy where Dad's having the alcohol-free Heineken. I guess.
No.
We could have done that, but it's just like, it's cool.
So on my radio show today, I was talking about how I was going to interview you. And I was, we're moving 100 miles an hour on the radio. And I took something that you said to me last week when I met you. And after I said it on the air, everyone started bagging on me. And I felt like I said it wrong. But maybe I didn't, because you were talking to me about the clothes you were wearing. And I thought you said, I'm wearing 100% cotton underwear. I'm wearing 100% cotton whatever. And then everyone on the show was like, underwear is cotton. Like, what's he talking about? Like, everyone's underwear is cotton. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I don't know who makes what clothes or what. Why? But like you were kind of telling me, look, I don't have stuff. I dress very basic. What is so special about the clothes that you wear?
Yeah, so, I mean, remember that there's going to be a lot of people against us, if you will. And not that these people were against you by any means, but there's a lot of where people hold on to these, things where it's like, oh, look at Johnjay, he's got this newfound religion where he's, eating this way and he's doing this or doing. We like the old Johnjay better. We like the guy who would have gone to Amsterdam and laid it all out there. We like.
I
that
wish I
guy
would have done
better.
this 30 years ago.
So totally, right? I mean,
Yeah.
because people would look at me and they're like, oh, be critical of me. I'm like, I only found this religion I was 35. Like I had 35 years of hard living in my mother's womb. She wasn't eating organic vegetables and seafood. She was a Chicago deep dish pizza girl herself. And as she says, that from the moment she found out she was pregnant, she never stopped eating, Back to the question about the underwear. So it's the organic cotton underwear. I don't know exactly what all underwear is made out of. I mean, presumably
organic
some
cotton,
of it, but it's the organic nature of it because it doesn't have the chemicals that are embedded, the pesticides that are. Cotton is one of the most chemically sprayed things in the world. And now if you take that pesticide, if you take that chemical, and if it's leaching into your genitalia, it's probably not a good thing. Now, of course, organics are always going to be better for the environment and stuff like that. But I also want people to understand that when, for example, if they're walking around wearing a polyester t-shirt, if they're wearing whatever your favorite brand is, and those stretch t-shirts,
I think this
and
is
that is one, and you sweat into it, you're just sweating these plastic. It's polyester is plastic. Nylon is plastic. These are all plastic synthetic materials, and you breathe them into your body. You absorb them into your body, and you're killing yourself. So I just tell people, of course, we would always choose cotton whenever possible. There's hemp and there's linen and there's other clothings, but it's also just about raising awareness. Like, look at everything you bring into your home, everything in your life. Is it a toxic chemical or not? Mm-hmm. And if it is, don't bring it in. There's a lot of 25-year-olds that feel amazing. They feel bulletproof. There's a lot of 25-year-olds that are not. Mm-hmm. A lot of young women out there, palpitations, skip beats, flips, skips. People are sick. Mm-hmm. People are sick. And they're not going to get answers from the medical community. They're just not. They're not. Things are not changing. The medical doctors are trained pharma surgeries.
So are you, or have you written a book?
I do have a book. Thank you for asking. Thank you for not reading it.
Well, I didn't know about it.
I will
just met you a week ago, bro.
I'll make sure to give you a copy. So it's called The Paleocardiologist, The Natural Way to Heart Health. It's about paleo nutrition, but it's about the paleo lifestyle.
Is that you? Are you a paleo?
So yeah, I mean, so we talk, that really is what we are. So it's paleo nutrition, which is hunter-gatherer like our ancestors did. So we are hunter-gatherers. I'm not the carnivore cardiologist, like I said. I'm not the vegan cardiologist. So to put a label on it, it's paleo, but it's also the paleo lifestyle, the sleep, the sunshine. Our ancestors were outdoor. Like, they were outdoor all
When
the time.
did you write this book?
2015, Amazon bestseller, Morgan James Publishing. It's available on Amazon. If anybody wants to give the money to Jeff Bezos, feel free. If they want a free copy, just pay shipping. It's freeheartbook.com. And
For real? You give it for free?
I pay, again, I want people to get a copy of the book. So yeah, they pay shipping and
freeheartbook.com.
And then after that, they're going to get a copy of the book, and then they'll be offered a second copy, and then they'll be offered a supplement, and it's a sales funnel, if you will.
Oh, hey man, you got to make money.
Well, I'm very proud of the stuff that I do now. I'm very proud. If I tell you to take something, it's because I take it myself. I recommend it myself. I'm proud of that. What I'm not proud of the fact is that we used to do nuclear stress tests out of everybody who had insurance. Like, that was the game. How do you see people as quickly as possible? How do you do as many tests as you can on that person as possible? Yeah, we're trying to give people the best health, but we're also milking insurance as much as possible. I'm not proud of what I did there, but I can own it. I can admit to it. And a lot of cardiologists can't admit to them being wrong.
Are there people out in the world of social media or names that we would know that back you up, that say, yeah, hey, Dr. Wolfson, you're right. We're the same way. Is there somebody like that?
Oh, no, there's a lot of people who are out there. There's a lot of people on social media who talk this. There's other cardiologists who talk similar as far as health and maybe anti-pharma, if you will. There's a lot of those people out there, but I think I'm the most extreme and the most radical. Like, that's why I said to you, hey, I'm wearing organic cotton underwear because we take the lifestyle very seriously.
Right.
Number two reason, and I'll tell you number one, but number two reason is that I want to be able to inspire other people to do the same for their health. The number one reason why I do it is very selfish. I don't want to die like my father did.
Mm-hmm.
I've got young kids.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a 4-year-old. I was changing diapers at 50.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to die.
Well, yeah, that's my thing too. I want to be around. My dad died at 66. I'm like doing everything I can. I wish I would have been living this a long time ago. Well,
it's never too late, though. I mean, it's never too late. You're right there.
Well, that's what I'm telling you right now. Like, the stuff I talk about is the stuff you talk about, but I don't have the education, the background. You're like, so to hear you talk about it, like, you're not a guy that was once a chiropractor. You're not a guy that was a car guy and was like, hey, man, I'm telling you how to eat right. Like, you're a guy that has all the education behind it. You know, whereas I'm just a guy on the radio going, hey, man, I read about this, so I'm doing it. Like, let me ask you this. That reminds me. So I have a friend of mine that had cancer, lymph node cancer, had the lymph nodes removed, didn't want it to come back, he's been doing everything he can. He wouldn't do chemo. But what he did was he did the sauna. He does all these other things, the IV drips, naturopath all the time. But he was doing that thing that I can't believe is legit, is that methylene blue. That to me sounds, when I looked it up, it's a clothing dye, right?
Yeah, it's a clothing dye that has some alleged benefits. There's really not a lot of research on it, so it's not something that I currently recommend. There are other holistic physicians that are doing it, and maybe inside the cancer world it's a little bit different, but there was an event a few years ago called The Truth About Cancer. And The Truth About Cancer, they did their first thing. They did a live, and it was in Dallas, Texas. It's a massive hotel conference center. And there were probably 7,000 people in the audience. Mm-hmm. And it was live streamed, so there were hundreds of thousands of people that were, tuning in. And the organizers of it said, Jack, we want you to come speak. I'm a cardiologist. It's a cancer event. What do you want me for? And they're like, well, all these people have heart disease, so you may as well come down and speak. And I'm like, okay, cool. So the thing I said from the stage, I feel is really, really, really important for anyone and everyone, no matter what your health condition is, cancer or not. You cannot get healthy in the same environment where you got sick. Mm-hmm. So you have to change up the environment. Now, does that mean you should move from Chicago to Scottsdale? Mm-hmm. Does it mean you should move from Scottsdale to Cancun, Mexico? The answer is maybe, but the more you change up your environment, your food environment, your house environment, your sleep environment, your relationship environments, the more you change up all that, the more you have a chance of success. Because if you're the person who developed cancer in that environment, you can't chemo your way out of that. You can't radiate your way out of that. You may get some level of improvement, and most chemotherapy is worthless. Most radiation is worthless. They'll tell you to do it because that's how they drive a Mercedes and a Porsche, and they live in fancy homes. They'll say it's beneficial, but that's how they get. And another important thing, obviously, so change up your environment. The other thing is, like, ask questions. Let's have meaningful conversations. Like, if you're my, patient, I want this to be a partnership, just like we're talking about right now. Like, let's just have a conversation. Mm-hmm. And you're like, what about methylene blue? What about chemotherapy? What about radiation? Like, let's have a conversation about it. And it's not adversarial. It's a partnership. It's not a dictatorship. Let's just, and let me, because you're going to say, well, give me the benefits. Everyone's talking about methylene blue. Tell me the data. Tell me the science, and then I'll make a decision. You want me to go on a statin drug? Tell me the data. Tell me the science.
Well, the methylene blue thing sounds a little bizarre to me.
I agree.
That's where I'm like,
that
just
agree.
Doesn't seem.
I agree.
I did my own little research. I'm like, wait a minute, it was a clothing dye, and people are taking it. And my buddy was taking it. Then he'd go sit in the sauna and then the red light bed, because when you did that, it did something to kill cancer. I don't know. Seems
well, if
crazy
you have
to me.
cancer, I mean, it depends on the stage of cancer too. Like if it's a stage 4 cancer and they're like, you're going to die in 6 months. Well, of course,
do whatever.
all I mean, take every
Right.
possibility there. The other thing, again, it just goes back to the metrics, right? How do we know if it's working? So if we do a blood test and it says that you have a lot of inflammation or oxidative stress, give me your methylene blue protocol, and then let me see the numbers. And like, did it get better?
Okay,
did my numbers get better?
For you, for example, right now you're absolutely healthy, right? There is nothing in your body that's wrong, nothing, right?
I hope so.
Right. Okay, so God
so.
forbid you did find out that you had a nodule on your prostate or something. How would you handle it?
Again, I'm doing a lot of the stuff already, right? So it's like that would be a major shocker to my system. But it's always, how do we dig deeper? How do we keep peeling back the onion? I wouldn't say how I would get it. I would look back and I'd say, first of all, like I said, 35 years of living a poisonous lifestyle, that's going to be a problem. And then just like I said to you, okay, I got to change up my environment. How would that look?
So you do that
where
before
would I have
you
to go?
took medicine.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I wouldn't even. I mean, honestly, I don't see any scenario, where I would take medicine, if you will, outside of having that conversation. So if you have cancer, or if you had a heart attack, the questions you want to ask is, what is the benefit of your therapies? What are the risks of your therapies? What are the alternatives of your therapies? So if you had a heart attack and I say, swallow this pill because this is going to lower your risk of having another heart attack in the next 5 years, it's going to lower your risk from 20% to 2%. Well, 20% versus 2%, that's a huge difference. Mm-hmm. So in that scenario, I'd probably say, I'll take your therapy. Mm-hmm. I mean, depending on how, what are the side effects of it. But let's say, side effects are pretty minimal. Because, again, we're going to look at risk-benefit. But if you're going to say, take this statin drug, and it's going to reduce your heart attack risk from 3% to 2.7%, I'm going to try something different than that. So just ask questions.
Okay.
Just ask the questions.
So when I was talking to you last week, you brought up a product, and I got something. I haven't tried it yet, but we talked about it, and I can't remember. Shilajit?
So it's Shilajit.
Shilajit, yes.
And with all due respect for you, again, in the medical world, I never had a clue how to spell it and stuff like that. And it's funny when they get all sheepish about a pharmaceutical they don't know how to pronounce. I'm like, I spent.
Oh, I don't care.
I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars and a lot of my life trying to learn those names. So
I watched YouTube videos on it last night. So they called it a bunch of different names, but I looked at Shiljat or something.
Yes, So Shilajit is. I mean, presumably it's some kind of a Sanskrit, Hindu word, whatever for this particular product, and it's a very dark paste, black paste.
It's like a tar.
It is
from the Himalayan mountains.
From the Himalayan mountains,
in between the rocks,
and it's dead plant material. So everyone's kind of running for these synthetic things. Are you talking about creatine powders? Why would I take creatine, a synthetic lab-made powder, when I could do something like this that contains dozens and dozens and dozens of minerals? Calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, boron, molybdenum, all these different things in nature's perfect form from decayed plant matter. Why wouldn't I try that first? So
that
I would definitely try that.
The Shilajit has all those things in
Yes.
it, magnesium. So when you take it, do you take it in the morning, afternoon, night? When do you do it?
I usually take it in the morning with coffee. So I'm a coffee guy, so I'll do 3 or 4 cups of coffee in the morning, and I'll mix in a little bit of the Shilajit tar. Take like a little knife tip and I'll kind of mix it into the water after I brew the coffee. I do everything with a pour-over method, so I don't use any kind of plastic, K-cups. And you and I talked about it. I don't sell ground coffee. I don't sell K-cups. It's all the pour-over method. Then I'll mix in a little bit of that afterwards.
And do you feel a kick right away from the Shilajit?
I do, actually, now that you mention it. Like I feel just like a little bit of an energy burst, if you will. I'm not the canary in the coal mine because people say to me like, oh, do you feel better now when you're 55 compared to when you were 25? And I say, I felt great at 25. I feel great now. I don't really know, but I'm also, like I said, I'm trying to prevent what happened to my father. That's the ultimate. And, for guys like you, we want to be going on the Amsterdam trip, with the grandkids. And we're going to look at, Grandpa Johnjay over there. He's he grabbed one of the bikes in Amsterdam and he's biking around the city. Like he wants to be that 85-year-old guy, not the 85-year-old guy who they kind of, put a wheelchair into the airplane. They take him off in the airplane, and everyone's like, I can't wait to get away from that guy.
Okay, well, that makes me think about living in a tent, because I'm like, let's say you're living in a tent and you live to be 89. Well, what if you just live in a normal house and you live to be 87, but you have a good life?
I hope that's the case. The life expectancy of an American male is 76.
Okay.
So that's not 89, it's 76. And the last 15 years of that person's life is in and out of the hospital and the doctor's office and the pharmacy. So what is the average right now is not very good. And there's always outliers, right? The people like,
yeah, my father-in-law's 87.
Exactly.
Hiking Camelback.
Right. And a lot of those people, let's say some of those people, like they were smokers, they were drinkers, they ate whatever they wanted. Right. There are those outliers. And if you're that outlier, but chance favors the person who's doing it the right way. Again, it is inspirational because there's so much sickness out there. I mean, there's hospitals that they're building all over the place. Mayo Clinic doesn't announce like a $2 billion expansion on Mayo Boulevard, a street named after a hospital for sick people. They're not building it for healthy people. They're building it predicated on sickness. And the sickness, my friend, is totally preventable.
So how can you tell if you have a house that has the mold that has the bacteria?
Yeah, so we sell a test on our website called a Swiffer test, and you can you collect dust samples and you test your home. It's a lot easier to swallow a pharmaceutical. It's a lot easier to handle your aches and pains with IV Toradol or other. It's a lot easier to drink alcohol to ease the pain.
So if you do the Swiffer test, send it in, and it comes back, hey man, you've got mold, you've got bacteria. Those people should move?
Those people should have the house inspected, potentially remediated, but we are talking about something that's big. And I think that's why it's not conversed about a lot, because if insurance companies were on the hook for every home that was moldy after Katrina, in New Orleans, you'd have to tear down the entire city.
No, we had a flood in my house, and we had to tear down the floors, and we had everything redone, and I'm sure it's still, right? You can't get it. Right, so
unfortunately. And
the Swiffer test is, what's your website?
Maybe the next interview we can do up at the campsite, so you can see what we're going through.
The website for Swiffer test.
My website is naturalheartdoctor.com.
And that's where the Swiffer test
is, and that's where the Swiffer is, and any supplements and all the stuff about us, but. It's really liberating in the sense, I think I told you about this, so we've got 4 kids, 18, 13, 7, and 4. And the 13-year-old, he kind of struggles because he wants his closet back. He wants the closet that he had in Colorado that's got, this is my mountain biking gear, and this is where my ski stuff is, and this is where my, Friday, evening, we live in the small town in Colorado, so they had First Fridays, right? And we're the main street over there, everybody's out. So this is like his clothing that he would wear, for that. And that's, again, it's, these are little, white boy problems.
Is everything in storage, or?
It's, a lot of the stuff we use, it's in duffel bags, so it's in duffel bags, and okay, well, which duffel bag has this clothes? We've traveled a lot over the last 9 months, a lot. We're, going to Idaho and Montana, California, Texas, Colorado, back and forth out of Arizona. So we haven't really been boots on the ground in one place. If one was to say, you know what, I live in Paradise Valley or Scottsdale, I could live outside in a tent, and I could bring my clothes outside. And maybe I had a tent that was specifically for my clothes, and I had these racks, and I had these things. It can be done, but it's a lot to wrap your head around. Complacency is a lot easier. Like you said, it's a lot easier to lay on the couch and watch TV, and it's very comfortable. The problem is, to be frank, those people are going to die. Mm-hmm. They're going to die, and I don't know how else to say it. Life expectancy 76 for the American male. You don't want that. I don't want that.
How old was your dad when he died?
63.
Oh wow, my dad was 66. Holy! Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have a younger brother and a younger sister. My brother's an internal medicine doctor up in Las Vegas. And he understands a lot of what I'm saying, but he chooses to not live that way. Yeah, he'll eat some organic food and stuff like that, but he's not going to go to the extreme because he doesn't want to. You know, he wants to just kind of like the character played by Joe Palantonio in the movie The Matrix, like plug me back into the Matrix. I don't want to know the truth, you know, la, 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 but that's not going to save you. There's no getting plugged, you know, into that.
You said you're living in a tent until you get a house with concrete, grass, and metal. When is that happening?
That will be done in Costa Rica toward the end of December. So concrete, glass, and steel. All the water is outside. We are on a ridge line, so we have a breeze that's coming through. It's, I don't want to say like it's a privileged existence. Like as you mentioned earlier, you know, trailer, you could get a brand new trailer. And especially when you live in a place like Arizona, you could live in the trailer every single day of the year. Now, the summertime would certainly get warm, and maybe you'd pull your trailer up to Flagstaff, but that keeping it aerated, it can't, it's like hashtag no excuses. If you're sick enough, you'll change up your environment because the alternative is you're not going to make it.
So you're building in Costa Rica, and it will be done in December.
That's the plan.
Like what is it that you're building? A 4-bedroom?
It's not big. No. It's small. It's small. It's going to be under 1,000 square feet. We also are going to have a separate kind of garage laundry area. All the water, again, will be exposed. And it's a very minimalist living. Like, do we really need 4 bedrooms, 5-bedroom houses? Right, we were hiking up in North Scottsdale, out by, you know, Pinnacle Peak and stuff like that, and they're building these just monster houses of 10, 12, 15,000 square feet. And I would say, for what?
Right.
Why would, and I've lived in homes, I've lived in very nice, large homes. I am the son of a cardiologist. I was a very highly paid, successful cardiologist up until 2012, and I would leave the group and start over. So I know what quote-unquote nice homes are, but I would say, like, why do you need that? And the answer is you don't. And I guess you could say, well, if you lived in Buffalo, no insult to the people in Buffalo or my hometown of Chicago or, you know, Milwaukee or whatever, yeah, maybe you want a lot of square footage because you spend so much of your time in. But here in Arizona, like, live outdoors. Live outdoors. What are you doing inside of this monster home? And like I said, my 2 boys sleep together. My wife and our 2 daughters. We need two rooms. We need 2 tents. That's all we need.
Any issues
and then a
with
kitchen
wildlife?
area.
You got wildlife issues?
We have wildlife issues. We've had javelina, you know, obviously up in Cave Creek where we're staying right now. In Idaho and in Montana, we had bear.
Rattlesnakes?
We have not had any rattlesnakes here in Arizona. Obviously, you could say scorpions, whatever, but we haven't seen any scorpions yet in Arizona.
Is there any negative to living in a tent?
No. No,
Really?
honestly, there's not. The only thing would be, I mean, yeah, you're exposed to the elements. Let's say if it's windy, if it's really windy, we've had some windy days, that's a hassle. Rain, so you got to make sure the rain fly is on. Otherwise, we're laying in the tent and staring up at the stars all night.
If you go on vacation, first of all, do you go on vacation? Do you go to San Diego for a weekend?
So let me say, we have not gone on vacation in 9 months. The last vacation we took was to Costa Rica. So that was a year ago, and there was 2 weeks of rain straight, and the house we were staying in, which was a brand new home, did have mold. It did have mold. We did not feel well there, so it lasted 2 weeks, and we came back, and that's when we evacuated Colorado and went out to California. In California, we were camping. We had coyotes.
You could tell in the house in Costa Rica that there was mold right away.
My wife has mold-dar. She has mold-dar. She can sense it very, very quickly. She can sense it on people. She reacts to it. The women are truly the canary in the coal mine because they have this sixth sense. They sense danger because danger would be a way to tell the mom, A, don't get pregnant here. And I think that mold and bacteria leads to a lot of infertility issues. And then it's a way also of like, get your offspring out of this environment. It's like a cat. A cat has a litter, and the cat knows when things are not safe. So the cat will pick up each of its offspring one by one in the cat's mouth and take them to a safe location, just one after another. The cat does that. The cat intuitively knows that, and so do a lot of women, if they're able to really embrace, their those God-given abilities.
Well, speaking of cats, do you guys have pets?
So we have a dog and we do have cats.
And they live in the tent.
They live, they are running around free range during the day. And then for protection of the cats, they go back into a cage. So we hit like the dinner bell. They have their dinner inside the cage and they're protected inside the cage.
The dogs are free range?
The dog is free range. And there's been some campsites that we've gone to where the dog had to be controlled. But right now the dog is totally free range up in Cave Creek. And then at night, we'll put the dog into the Sprinter van, actually, and that's where she sleeps, really just because otherwise she'll, for safety, but also because she'll be barking all night. Right. But she'll go, I mean, she's a 45-pound golden doodle, like a medium-sized golden doodle. She'll be protecting the family, and she'll be coyote food, so we protect her.
What made you pick Costa Rica?
It's a great question. During COVID, I think it became very apparent to us to find a place where we could live outdoors every single day, running water, fruit trees, animals, and that's what we're developing down there right now. Truly being outdoor and living outdoor.
Well, like you'll be doing hunting?
Was critical. So, no, I'm not going to hunt down there. We're going to have, we have a ranch down there, so we do have animals. We've got goats and chickens, and we will have cattle there, so we're going to do all that down there. Fish, we'll definitely go into the water, and there's mackerel, tuna down there, barracuda. There's some delicious, and to me, seafood is the most important food. If anybody gets anything out of this one conversation, it's to eat a lot of seafood. Seafood is the single most important food we can eat.
You mean even shrimp, clams, oysters?
All of it.
But aren't they the cockroach of the sea?
They say that, but I don't even know if a cockroach at the sea is a bad thing. I don't know. I mean, it's...
Well, because I remember back when I first started learning about all kinds of crazy stuff, I remember I saw a doctor speak in 1988. His name was Dr. Ted Broer. You ever heard of him?
I have not.
He's extreme.
Yeah.
And he was like, these are the 10 things you should never eat. And those 10 things, diet soda, aspartame, deli meats, alcohol, cigarettes. And one of them was like... Shellfish. He said because of the mercury and because of all the garbage that floats to the bottom of the sea, that's what they eat. Now, fish and other things like that, yeah. But he was very against shellfish.
Yeah, I mean, so, we've tested those things, and I've tested my metals and stuff like that, and I don't find it to be a problem. Shrimp, oysters, lobster, crab, and the like. As long as they're good from good sources, I think that we're good. Some people would say, they would worry about some of the metals and these things. I haven't really seen much metal contamination. I think if you go for large tuna, shark, swordfish, Chilean sea bass, halibut, those can be metals. But I'm much more concerned about plastic, for example. Right. So our ancestors came across the metals. So for example, if Shilajit tar has some level of mercury, lead, arsenic, cadmium, those elements, again, on the periodic table, they've been here since before man was here. They were here first. Mm-hmm. So we've been around and in those things. And I'm not worried about the mercury that's in wild salmon, for example. So.
True. Fascinating. If you think about how exciting it's going to be for your kids to grow up in Costa Rica in that lifestyle, that's exciting. Much better than a tent in Cape Creek. You know what I mean?
Listen, kids...
Not that there's anything about a tent in Cape Creek, but you're talking about paradise.
Here's what makes kids happy. Being loved. Mm-hmm. That's it. They just want unconditional love. And if you're giving them hugs and kisses and you're showing and you're spending time with them and you're giving them that love, that's the best thing that there is. And it doesn't matter if you're in a 15,000 foot square home in Paradise Valley or you're living in a tiny home with 20 other families in Guatemala or Costa Rica or wherever. Because the kids don't really know any better. Our 7-year-old and 4-year-old, they'd love it. They love it when they get out there and they get to go spearfishing with Dad in Costa Rica.
that's going to be an amazing lifestyle.
It is amazing.
Swinging from the trees.
But, we feel, and that's why we homeschool/unschool. I want the kids around us all the time. My wife, for sure, wants the kids around us all the time. We want to be able to teach them the things that we feel are important. We had children because I love being around my kids, just like you love being around. I love every moment of that.
Yeah, I don't ever want my kids to leave.
Never. and really, they shouldn't, because they didn't. Back in the day, right? If we all came from the Middle East, if we all came from the equator, they didn't leave and, now it's time for you to go, halfway across the world. You're here in Phoenix, Scottsdale, and now it's time for you to go to Miami. Like, no, they didn't. They found another tent or another structure or another cave right over there. Mm-hmm. And we were multi-generational, and that's so wonderful. The whole idea, now they're 18. Now they got to go off to college. Now they got to do, no, they don't have to do any of that. And let's get that out of their heads.
Yeah, you're right.
Let's get that out of their heads.
I feel like one of the benefits of the whole COVID shutdown was that something happened to kids, because your kids are a lot younger than mine, but mine were like in the high school, just about to graduate. And I think it's also one of the positives of video games is that a lot of them don't like to go out drinking. They like to stay home and chill. And I think that was such a positive, because I love having my kids at home. Now, they've gone to college. Some of them are in college, and one of them's home, and I just love it. I don't ever want to, I have a 5-bedroom house because I want them all to live and have a house and stay there as long as possible.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And I think, that's true. That is one blessing out of that whole thing. And there weren't many blessings that came out of it, but even just for other people, I guess, where it's just like, let's hunker down at home, and we could watch TV, but maybe we break out the Monopoly game. Maybe we just, grab a deck of cards. Like, that's what we do.
Right.
We read books. We play with decks of cards. We don't do video games.
We had that. We had a place up in Pine Top, and the rules was no electronics growing up, because also growing up here in Arizona, summertime here was so hot, and there was such a deficiency in nature that we would go to Pine Top and we would fish and we would ice block and we would play kick the can and we'd play hide and seek and do those kind of things out in the woods. And I thought it was really important for them to get that, because here you're in the mall, you're air conditioned, you're never outside, right?
Well, how many people didn't get that, right? How many people didn't give that to
But I'm talking about
their kids?
My kids' whole childhood. That's what we did.
Yeah.
We made sure that they were grounded, barefoot, running around, doing that stuff.
And they'll live a better life because of it.
I believe it.
They really, really will. Mm-hmm. Every little bit is tremendous.
Thanks for being on my podcast, man.
No, it was awesome.
So let's go to the website real quick.
naturalheartdoctor.com, and then from there, I'm all over social media.
And the books are up there. Social media.
So
your social media is crazy. So what is it? Natural Health Doctor there?
Yeah, Natural Heart Doctor over there, like natural_heart_doctor. People will find me. Just Google my name, and you'll see some good stuff. You'll see some bad stuff about me. I've been very outspoken on all these different things.
I haven't seen bad stuff about you.
If
I Google reviews about you?
Yeah,
you can't believe what people write, dude.
Well, again, there's always going to be haters.
My dad told me, no matter how successful you get, people will always want to bring you down. Always. So you just gotta let that stuff bounce off of you.
You do. And again, we've developed, very, thick skin about all these different things for sure. Yeah. And social media, I really use because, as I said, heart disease is the #1 killer in the world still. So if I'm not out there on the stump all the time, then people are dying.
Right.
People are going for dangerous procedures. They're taking dangerous pharmaceuticals. The life expectancy is 76. When my wife is so involved with, fertility, pregnancy, children, she's always on the stump because we're saving lives every single day. And it's not cliche. It's like the more we talk about this, the better the health is going to be, because the other side, the pharmaceutical side, as you know, #1, industry and advertiser. How does mainstream media handle someone who's going to come out and talk anti-pharma? They don't handle it well, and I learned that in 2015 when I was on CNN. So people can Google that if they want to see a little bit about what I've been through. And I told you when I met you last week about some of that. And, you step out and you get death threats. You get a lot of people coming at you saying a lot of different things. But ultimately, I'm a freedom guy. It's like, hey, let me be free to do what I'm going to do with my body. You're free to do what you want with your body, and I'll go. And we'll see who lives longer.
By the way, you said when you first started that you went to this coffee shop this morning. You said it was an organic coffee shop? What's it called?
So we went to Firefly Coffee, which is fairly new. It is up in Scottsdale off of Pima. And there's a lot of good, coffee shops.
Pima and what?
Just off of Via de Ventura.
Oh, right by there by Lucy's.
So it's kind of in that area. It's almost like in a business center. And it's the people from Jigsaw Health. So they started off with Jigsaw Magnesium, and then they have like a indoor pickleball club.
No, but I do their electrolytes sometimes.
Yeah, and now again they're doing that. So really good people over there, Patrick.
I didn't know that the pickleball stuff was from here.
Yeah, no,
Jigsaw.
So Jigsaw, they did that over there. So they're really good people. Patrick and his wife. Just saw them over there.
So they just started their own coffee?
They have their own coffee over there, and they do a lot of food by Chef Stacy from Amelia's. They have a lot of that stuff in their pantry and some other, goodies. And it's just like a, good organic spot. I mean, I love coffee. I gave you a couple of bags of Cardiology coffee. I'll give myself a shameless plug here, right?
No.
So, I mean, whatever you do, just do it organic. Like coffee's. I started drinking coffee when I was 10, and it was, we talked about just like the garbage coffee or what existed when we were children. But the idea that coffee is heart healthy, and I want people to understand that coffee drinkers live longer, live better. Like I told you before, I don't push people to drink coffee, but they should drink coffee. If they like coffee, drink it, be happy about it, but drink the good stuff, organic, mold, mycotoxin-free, glyphosate-free. That's really what the key is there.
Holy smokes. Wait, so you're telling me I've been drinking this Jigsaw pickleball stuff, and these people are from here?
Yeah, they're local.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
that makes me feel so good.
Yeah, no, great.
Because I like
couple.
their stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Are they a huge company?
No. I mean, it's a small coffee shop. It's in a new building.
But the pickleball stuff,
I don't know. I haven't played pickleball there because again,
not play pickleball, but their product is pickleball. Like they've got a pickleball electrolyte. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I know they started off as a magnesium product, and then I think they morphed from Jigsaw Magnesium into this Jigsaw Health, and then they have pickleball courts. I don't know.
But wait, what's their magnesium? I wonder if I take it. I take 2 scoops of this magnesium powder every night.
I don't know.
I think it's called.
Screenshot it. Send me a picture. I'll see what it is. But to be honest with you, regarding pickleball, if I'm going to play pickleball, with all due respect to them, I'm going to play outside.
Oh yeah,
we're in Arizona, right. And the fact that when people talk about sauna health, sauna is great, but you also Arizona is a sauna. One of the tagline on our cardiology coffee is roasted in Arizona, because it is roasted here. We get it from a local roastery here. Roasted in Arizona, like the rest of us. So,
well, I drink coffee, but I've never ground my own beans. So I love your coffee. I love that you gave it to me. I haven't had it yet. I'm buying a grinder. And then when I went to go buy the grinder, it's like, don't get one with plastic, because I'm trying to, so I got to find a good brand.
Okay, well, a little hack with that is that if you have a nice blender, so like a Vitamix is known to be so just grind the beans in the Vitamix blender.
Okay, I'm going to do that tomorrow morning.
You paid all the money for the Vitamix. Go ahead and use it. So that pulverizes the beans right there. Try and do it as fresh as possible. Ideally, you would grind them in the morning when you're drinking the coffee. And I would say, 3 to 4 cups is the sweet spot for coffee before noon. That's what the literature tells us. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not pushing people who like to drink 1 cup. I'm not saying step it up. I'm just saying coffee is heart healthy. The sweet spot appears to be 3 to 4. And then when you get the K-cups, again, that's all plastic. When you use a coffee maker, it's all plastic. So ideally, you would do a pour-over method, and the beans, when you grind them just before, they have less chances of becoming what's called oxidized. The delicate oils that are in the bean or the seed, as it is, become rancid, and that, again, can lead to, like, they become stale. chemical terms, they oxidize. And that oxidation process is a lot where people are talking about seed oils. And they're like, oh, we're against seed oils, because they're very high in rancidity or the oxidized process. And we incorporate that into our cell membranes, our mitochondrial membranes, other organelles inside of our cells, and it leads to sickness. So yeah, that's a long way.
And Firefly does good coffee.
Firefly, and again, it's organic coffee. It does look like it comes from Honduras. I haven't really quizzed them. We happened to go there just because we were coming off hiking up in Pinnacle Peak, and then we said, okay, let's go down there. They also sell raw milk.
Okay.
So raw milk hopefully is something that the current administration on a federal level makes legal, like make raw milk legal again, like our ancestors used to drink. It's probably going to be a state-by-state issue. There are other places where you can get raw milk here in Arizona, and they sell there. So that was kind of a thing like, okay, let's go to get some organic coffee and drink some raw milk at their place while we're going to grab some internet and get some work done.
There's a butcher shop in Arcadia. I think it's called Arcadia Butcher Shop that sells raw milk, and their beef is organic and grass-fed and stuff. It's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I think they get some of their stuff from Arizona, grass-fed and stuff like that. And again, like these are the questions we have to ask.
Yeah.
I mean, it's and it's so critically important to ask these questions.
All right, thanks, Doc.
Thank you.
Okay, so welcome to our podcast. This is a little bit different today because this podcast is a spin-off of our radio show.